everyone, Jennifer here. I'm just making my second video about how to use product Photoshop to create product displacement. As you can see, I have changed a Starbucks logo. Here's my original Starbucks logo right here, Starbucks coffee, to Barstuck's Spices. Okay, and as you may recall, I was able to make my text run along paths that were made with the elliptical shape tool. And I made sure that the shape tool was set up to be a path. So if you look at paths here, I have these two paths that my words are wrapping around, okay? Now, to go to the next level, we want to put something in here, right? We want to change this image that's in the center. So how do we do that in a really professional way? Well, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go back to what I had shown you in the original video, which is, let's start off with this Starbucks coffee logo. And we're going to go, let me close history really quickly. We're going to go here. I'm going to show you how I went from the original logo, Starbucks coffee with the original image in there, to Star Clucks coffee with this chicken. Okay. So the first thing I did was I found a really nice kind of clip arty but very fanciful image of a chicken. Let's go back to layers, and you'll notice here that, and I made sure that the quality was very high resolution, and I brought it in the same way as I've shown you before by copying it and then Command V, pasting it into Photoshop. And as you can see, it's a really nice chicken that's orange on black. So I experimented with it a little bit. So just to show you some of the different ideas I came up with, I'm going to turn this layer off, and I'll turn off Star Clucks so you can see some of the different layers that I came up with. So first of all, I had something like this, which was black on white. And I also had an orange on white that I created. Here's just a smaller one as I was trying to decide how it would fit into that circle. And then I had this beautiful blue on white. So how did I do these things to get to this final point? Well, the first thing I did was I took my layer and I went to Image, Adjustments, Invert. So when you invert, your blacks become white and your oranges become blue colors. Okay, so that was one thing I did. And then what I did was I went to Adjustments and I played around with brightness and contrast, okay? I also played around with hue and saturation. So brightness and contrast, you can add, you try to make things darker, maybe bring that down a little bit so you have some really beautiful blues there. But I thought to myself that it just doesn't seem like this is going to work the way I want it to, because I was thinking, well, even though these are beautiful colors, I really had my heart set on something that ended up with some really orangey colors like a real rooster, okay? So what I did was, let's turn that off. I just ended up sticking with my original black and white chicken. Let's go back in history. Okay, so I'm just going to go before I inverted, and there I am back to my original chicken here. And as you can see, let me close that. As you can see, I have, let's move this over. I'm going to hit V to go to the Move tool. V will take you to the Move tool. And what I did was I just removed all the color for this version of the chicken. Okay, so I went to Images, Image Adjustments, and then I desaturated, Shift Command U. Okay, so Shift Command U got me to this point, and then I did Image Adjustments, and I believe I used Brightness Contrast. Let's see. Yeah, I think I did. I think I went brightness. There we go. Yep, that's what I did. Okay, so I ended up with this really nice white chicken on black. So it ties into the actual original Starbucks logo there. But you'll notice, so let's just click on OK there, that my original chicken head is too far forward to really fit nicely into the circle the way I wanted it to. So what I did was, and some of you probably are thinking this already, you guessed it, I used the liquefy tool, right? So as you may recall, just as I've shown you in other videos, I just took that chicken layer, filter, liquefy. And sometimes, you may have to liquefy a few times to get everything to look the way you want. And as you can see, I'm having a little glitch with Photoshop. Hopefully it'll work itself out. But what I did was I made my tool large enough to sort of gently pull this chicken head back and up. And then if I needed to, hitting the left bracket, just made that beak a little bit smaller. Then maybe made my tool bigger, brought it back again. Okay. And if you need to bloat it, make it bigger, you certainly can. You can use some of these other tools. Like, actually, twirl clockwise was one that I used. Bloat will make it bigger, then you can actually have it pucker as well. In this case, I did use this twirl clockwise, but to get it to twirl the opposite direction, so that head maybe came back a little bit, I held down Option. And you see how that head comes up, because if you don't, it's going to go the opposite way. See that? So holding down Option will bring it up this way. Okay. And then once again, pushed it back. Okay. And then right here again with the beautiful tail, moved it back this way. And once again, use the twirl. And of course, I'm not holding down Option because I want it to be clockwise. So remember, clockwise is without Option, counterclockwise is with Option. Okay, so then I just kind of moved everything closer so it could sort of be more rounded and fit better into the circle. And once I felt comfortable with it, I just clicked on OK. And you can see that now this is actually better than the original one that I did, I think. My chicken is more sort of made for a circle. I'll use history just to show you. So it's this versus that. You see that? And the liquefy tool is great for these situations. Okay, so then what did I do? Well, I needed to put it into that exact section. So actually, let's just use this layer as an example. But let's see. Yeah, that's fine. I have another version of it. So what I can do is, let's say that this is good, then what I would do is I would want to make an exact round circle, and let's just put it above here so you can see that. Oops, right there. I'm just going to put it right there for now. And let's just make this a little bit bigger so you can see everything. And okay, so it's here. Let's bring it down even further. And it's good to name your layers. Always name your layers. So this one really should be Rooster. Okay. Okay, so now I didn't have the luxury of a circle already made. So let's actually turn off everything that I have here. So what would I do if I were going from scratch? So let's take this layer and we're just going to turn it off for now. So what I want to do is get that exact circle. Once again, if I hit Command H, let's get rid of the guide that's down here. And remember, I've got my rulers open. So if you don't have your rulers, make sure you turn them on. And then you can drag a guide out and it should snap right to the center. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and use the elliptical marquee tool, go right into that center point, start dragging, but hold down Option and Shift to get a perfect circle from the center. And you want to align it as well as you can. And once again, as I said before, this is a great way to not have to use transform. Okay, so that's pretty good, although it's a little off center. So what I can do is I can move it up and to the left a little bit. Okay, just using my arrows on my keyboard. But if I had to, I would go Select, Transform Selection, and then I can make the selection exactly as perfect as it needs to be. Okay, but using your rulers, okay, using your rulers and guides will help you to make things a lot more perfect so you don't have to transform selections. Okay, so now I have this nice circle here, and what I can do is turn this on. Let's see. Okay, so there are a few things I could do. Like I said, there's so many ways you can do these kinds of things. Well, I have my Starbucks logo. Maybe what I could do is just in order to create a nice circle that I can use here, I can go ahead and let's try a few things. All right, I'm going to go a different way. Let's say that I want, all I need really is a template. So I'm going to use this background for this, and I'm going to hit Command J. And now you'll see right in here that I have a little circle in there, which I can use to guide me to get my background to be as perfect as I can. Now, had I centered this layer 1 perfectly already, I wouldn't have to have had this layer 2, but because I don't want to start all over, let's just go from this point. The whole reason for this circle here is to be like a little template of the circle that I need. So I'm going to take layer 1 and I'm going to hit V so I can move it. And I'm going to move it sort of roughly into the center here. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is turn down its opacity below 100. Okay. And now we can see how it fits into that circle. So it's still quite big, and it's kind of it's not in the right position. So I'm going to move it down a little bit. And maybe I like that. Maybe it's still too big. So I'm going to hit Command T, and you can see what I'm hitting down here. And I'm going to go ahead and hold down Option and make it a little bit smaller. So maybe I can see more of that head, and then move it up a little bit. And maybe I'm going to cut off a little bit of that beautiful plume on its head, the crest on the bird's head. And maybe that'll look good. You can really play around with it. I'm going to hit Return. And you'll notice there's a problem. I still have this area here that isn't black. Okay, so one thing I can do is, and let's just take a look at what this looks like here. I'm going to put my hand, my little cursor, in the thumbnail, hold down Command, and see, okay, so that's what's going to be cut off when I eventually cut this off. So maybe I want to move my chicken head a little bit back because I'm cutting off too much of that crest. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Command D, and I'll move my chicken back a little bit. Let's just use my arrows to move it back so I can get more of that head in there. And once again, I can go ahead. I don't want to have this on the whole time because if I do, I'll actually be cutting the chicken and moving it over. So I'm going to say that's pretty good. But now here's the other issue. I have a little bit of white there. Now I can leave these marching ants on, and I can actually turn this all the way up now, bring my opacity to 100 and say, okay, that's what I want. So I'll take this chicken now here, and I can either invert and delete, or I can Command J to make a copy of this layer 1. Probably the better thing to do is to hit Command J, because if I want to mess around with this more, I have this layer 1 as sort of a master of my chicken if I don't like what I've done. So Command J, and now I should have, let's see, layer 1. Let's try that again. There we go. Now I have a copy of that layer. So if I turn that off, this is what I have. And maybe I like that. Let's just say that's good enough. I'm going to actually move it down slightly. So there we go. And that looks pretty good. Now what I can do, actually, before I move it down slightly, you have to get everything to be perfect. So before I nudged it, let's leave it up. You see there's a little bit of a mess down there, but I can fix that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to still use that white piece as a template. So I'm going to Command click, and this is exactly where it was. I'm going to make a layer underneath. So I'm going to do right here, I'm going to do plus. I have a layer 4 because I want to fill this in with black. Okay, so I can go ahead and just click here. Okay, and I get black, and I can paint within this section. Okay, make sure that my brush is pretty firm. Remember, the left bracket will make it smaller, right bracket will make it bigger, shift right bracket will make it firmer, shift left bracket will make it less firm. I'm going to leave it at almost completely firm. And go ahead and paint that in. And the reason I'm doing it underneath this layer is if I mess up, I won't be painting over the chicken. See that? I'm painting only in the area below, and you can see that black underneath. When I'm happy with that, now what I'll do is I will take layer 4 and layer 3, shift select them, and merge the 2 layers by going layer, merge layers, or Command E. So now this is looking pretty good, and I can hit Command D to deselect. I'm going to hit Command H to get rid of those guides. And now I'll take this layer 3, which we'll call, you know, chicken good. Maybe this is the one I'm going to go with as my final chicken. And now I can move this down slightly so it looks nice and clean around the edges. So make sure I hit V to go to the move tool and bring it down. And there you go. And if it's just off a little bit, you want to just kind of move it around and get it right to the right point, okay? So, you know, as you can see, it does take a lot of patience and a lot of really making sure you're doing everything perfectly. If I were to do this exactly as I wanted to, this tutorial would be way too long. So you really do have to spend a lot of time perfecting it. And there you go. So there's my chicken. And I have the star clucks over here, right up here, and it looks pretty good. So that's how to now change the image, which is inside the center. Okay. Now the next step will be to go ahead and really make some more drastic changes. So let's go ahead and hit Command Save. How do I get it to look like this, right? Okay, so let's take a look at some of the things I would need to do. Okay, so first thing is I showed you how to change the word coffee, right, to spices, and then now, of course, you can see chicken here. But let's take a look at what I did here. So in this case, I did not make a black and white chicken. I went ahead and kept the colored, beautiful black and orange chicken. Let me hit Command H so you can see that better. I still used the liquefy tool on it. I did everything I just showed you to get that into that section just perfectly. However, now I want to, I wanted to change these stars to birds. Well, as you can see by looking at my layers, if you look right here, I changed the color. So I copied my green circle, my donut looking circle, and I just changed the color to black. Then I took the original logo, okay, which is just this very thin line here, the original logo, okay, and I made that black. So I desaturated it, okay, so just to show you again, image adjustments, and I desaturated it, and then I brought the black down a little bit. There was a little bit of white showing, okay, and I'll show you that in just a second. If I change this to normal mode, you can see there was a little bit of white along there. Now, I could go in with a circular marquee and try to erase that very carefully, but guess what? It's so much easier, as you learned from using multiply mode with the other tutorial where I showed you how to paint with a line drawing. All I had to do was just put this into multiply mode. Ta-da! And now the white is gone. Okay, so then what I did was I made a new background. I just copied the background, filled it with the same color from the chicken, right? So all I had to do to change that color, once again, is click in the color picker, click in any color you want that you like right here maybe. And then you've got that color. You could choose any other color. I could have chosen yellowish, right? Or this greenish or the reddish color. Go ahead and hit OK. And then right here, all I did was edit, fill, right? Or there are many different ways you can do this. My favorite way is Command Delete. That just immediately just is a very quick keyboard shortcut. And then I changed the colors of my, so this was white, Star Clucks, chicken were both white. So I selected both of them at the same time, Star Clucks and chicken. And I went into the character panel, and all I had to do was double click and just change that color to orange from white. If I wanted to, just to show you, I could make it any color I want. Let's just play around with it. Okay, there you go. See, so you can do them both at the same time. I'm going to undo that because I wanted to keep it. Actually, that's kind of neat. If I made it maybe this grayish color, that'd be pretty fun. But it's probably a little too dark. So we're going to leave it at orange. And then what I did was I brought these hens. I made these hens here. How did I make the hens? So once again, if you go back to this tool, okay, the shape tool, I went ahead and went with custom shape, and instead of path, I chose shape, and instantly I was able to get to an animals. So in this case, I think I went to legacy animals and I found legacy shapes, and I believe it was in the 2019 shapes, and I believe I found farm animals. So I had a few choices of some cool, cute animals that were perfect. I'm not finding it right now. Let's see. But, oh, yeah, there it is. So it was 2019 legacy shapes. And as you can see, there are two different kinds of chickens. There's a rooster there. And all you do, you just choose whatever shape you want, and it's going to give you a vector shape, which is great. So let's say, for example, that right here I wanted to put let's just go back to black here. If I want to put a black hen here, okay, all I have to do is click and drag. Now you'll notice if I want to make sure that it stays the right aspect ratio, I create that chicken from the center of my cursor. I want to hold down Shift and Option, and there you go. So actually that made an orange one because the fill is here, but I can actually change that by just clicking in here and changing it to whatever color I want. There it is. Okay. And all of those blue little dots around that are actually vertices creating that chicken, and I can move those and change those if I want. I'm going to delete that though. And let's take this hen, because I think I had said this before, and we're going to flip it. So let's see here. Zoom in. I'm going to use the zoom tool. Okay, so that's this hen. And I just used Command T, even though it's a shape, flip horizontal. Okay, and I might want to move it a little bit over to the left. I'm sorry, to the right. And let's make that smaller. Command minus. And when I'm done with my transformation, I hit return. So there you go. That's how I did it. And as you can see, I have a very different logo than the one I started off with. And it's looking pretty cute. So just enjoy yourself. Do something really wild. Try to do, like, start with the original logo and then move on to something kind of in between, like this one. And then do something like this. Okay, have a lot of fun with this. What I'd like you to do also is I'd like you to add another element to this. So I'm going to make one more video to show you how to do what's called paste into. All right, I will see you in my next video.